Well, let's dive into the number 3 team you had on there, the Braves, because you mentioned it kind of when you were talking about the rotation. They do a really incredible job of locking in young talent really early. But is that the best move for these young guys?
What the Atlanta Braves have been doing since, I really feel like the Ozzie Albies and Ronald Acuna contracts are the ones that kind of were very eye-opening to like, wow, the Braves are doing things a little differently. And then they've gone on to do it with pretty much the majority of their team. Listen to this. Sean Murphy, who they just acquired from the A's, they end up extending him and signing him to a deal, so he's signed through 2028.
Oof.
Matt Olson, who they just got after the departure of Freddie Freeman, through 2031. Ozzie Albies through 2028. Austin Riley through 2034. I mean, it's insane. Michael Harris, who just comes up and was in the run, Rookie of the Year, right? Michael Harris comes up, Rookie of the Year. Okay, well, we're going to sign him through 2033. Ronald Acuna Jr. through 2029. Spencer Strider through 2030. Raisel Iglesias through 2036. It is mind-blowing. 2026. It is mind-blowing what the Braves have been doing with these contracts. And I'm not just saying the length, but the dollar amount as well. Ozzie Albies through 2027 has an AAV of $5 million. And the guy's a stud. And it doesn't stop there. Michael Harris, $9 million AAV. Matt Olson, $21 million. Spencer Strider, $12.5 million AAV. Sean Murphy, who's now, I believe, a proven stud in the league and one of the better catchers in baseball, $12.5 AAV. Ronald Acuna Jr., a perennial MVP candidate, $12.5 million AAV, signed through 2028. It's mind-blowing.
So the issue I have with this, because again, these are young guys. This is a lot of money being thrown at you early in your career. But it also doesn't necessarily give you that option to bet on yourself. So yeah, you take this big deal early on. You take the money. It seems like a lot. But as you mentioned, once you become established and once you get a little later on into that contract, you are making significantly less than probably majority of the other players at your caliber if you pan out. So this is the other thing too. It's a big risk for the Braves, but a huge steal if they pan out. And it looks like a handful of them are going to pan out. And it's a strategy. Don't get me wrong. Like this is the Braves' strategy. Lock them in young. You get them. I don't want to say cheap because you're still paying millions of dollars, but you are getting them fairly cheap long term, what they should be getting paid if they pan out. Is it fair? Is it the right move? I don't know. I kind of understand both sides.
So why do you say that the players kind of don't have the option to bet on themselves? Because they have the option to say no. They don't have to sign these deals.
Yeah, but if you're getting millions of dollars offered to you earlier on in your career, you don't know. You don't know if you're going to get injured. You don't know if it's going to pan out. And a lot of, I would think, again, I don't know, I'm not these players. A lot of these guys go, well, at least I'm going to get millions of dollars. I'm guaranteed millions of dollars right now if I take this contract. If anything happens, I'm going to get it. And when you're young, you don't necessarily, at the beginning of your career, you don't necessarily know. Like we saw, obviously, the best examples, Aaron Judge turning down hundreds of millions of dollars to then bet on himself, to then get a massive contract after that. But it takes a risk. There is a risk, and some people might prefer taking the money opposed to taking that giant risk of like, can I get more? Am I going to regret not taking that now and then not having it later on? I mean, it's a gamble.
It is.
Both sides.
It's a gamble on both sides, and I think the Braves have done a brilliant job understanding the gamble. Yeah, you know what? We're willing to pay you because we believe in you.
Yeah.
But could it be a steal? It might backfire against us. But I don't believe, like Michael Harris. Let's use him for an example. He comes up, middle of the year last year and goes on to win Rookie of the Year and appears to be a stud. I don't think he's like mad at himself for signing a deal through 2032, making $9 million a year. I think he said, I came up, I did well in the time I was up, and I got rewarded. And he had, if he wanted to say, you know what, I believe I'm a better player than $9 million a year, I'm going to say no. I'm going to bet on myself. He very much so could have. But the Braves have done a great job of understanding he's very young.
Yeah.
He's probably not going to say no to $9 million a year for 2032. And it is a risk for the Braves as well. So it's just a very interesting conversation because it is like, oh, hey, you're young and have never had real money.
Yeah.
Here's real money.
Yeah.
And now you're looking at Ozzie Albies, who's one of the better second basemen in the league, making $5 million a year through 2027, which is absolute insanity.
Robbery.
But, okay, so through 2027, Ozzie Albies keeps being the player he is.
Yeah.
His family is now set. He's done well for himself. He's not making what he should be, but he can, like, it is just a fascinating conversation to have really on all sides. And shout out, like, there's no way around it.
No.
The Braves have done brilliant, locking up all these names I've mentioned: Austin Riley, Michael Harris, Matt Olson, Spencer Strider, Sean Murphy, Ronald Acuna, Ozzie Albies, all through at least 2027. But the majority of those into the 2030s.
Yeah, but you also have to remember, too, as a young talent, no matter what field you're working in, everyone wants to feel wanted, right? Whatever career you're doing, you want to feel wanted. And by the Braves coming forward early on in their career, offering them millions of dollars early on, you get that, oh, I'm wanted. I have a home here. And as an athlete, it's never guaranteed. Like, you could get paid and then they trade you later on that season, next season. Like, it's a business. So there's also that mental side of it of, oh, I'm wanted here. Okay, this could be my home. Let's stay. This is comfortable. So that's the side, too, that the Braves kind of took on as well. Not only taking the risk on these young players, but playing with the heartstrings a little bit.
Well, that's a number you can't quite quantify. If you're an outsider looking at a contract, is security and knowing where you're going to be for a decade in your career. So we can sit here and talk about, yeah, okay, is the Ozzie Albies contract look crazy? Sure, but you know what? For around 10 years, Ozzie Albies is making good money. For the first few years of that deal, he's making more money than, at the time, making money that he's worth, and then goes on to be making less money than he's worth. But there's money in the security value of it as well, which is why Sean Murphy, who's young and just signed this deal for $12.5 million AAV, is there through 2029. Look, baseball, there is no guarantee, and this goes for sports in general. There's no guarantee that your career is going to last 2 more years. Michael Harris, who just comes up and wins Rookie of the Year, there's no guarantee that wasn't a fluke. And he could come up next year and hit 215 for the Braves and not be a starter. And next thing you know, he's locked up for all of these years. So there is value in the security that the Braves are giving these players, which is saying, we're betting on you for a decade for what you've done for us. It might work out well. It might not work out well. But there's the actual value of the contract and then the value of the security that the players want as well.
You know what I'm also curious about is if these young players do their research and maybe talk to other players who took this deal and this contract in the past and ask them if it's worth it. I know it's a lot of agents and a lot of them share the same agents and agents are talking, just trying to get you the best deal. Because I remember, was it Patrick Mahomes when he got his massive deal, the next big player to get their massive deal, like he reached out to him and like gave him some advice on the contract negotiation. So I'm curious if like young players also do this within Major League Baseball just to kind of get a feel. Like,
I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do.
I don't know.
There's also
it's
ones
crazy.
that haven't worked out, by the way. Like the Astros and John Singleton, they gave him $10 million over 5 years, and he hit 100 in the big leagues and never sniffed and got suspended. And like, there are chances it doesn't
It's a
work
little
out, so.
risk in the baseball money world.
Well, true.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. If you love Flippin Bats, swinging 3-0, or just talking ball, join us. Call us at 213-537-9339 with your questions. We have a weekly guest, and we have a lot of fun, so hit that subscribe button.